So yes, if you went with Ms. Sharp yesterday, it looks like you may have already completed this lesson, which is fine. That leaves you prepared for the work, or if you feel that you need more practice or time, you can hang out with me and check your strategies again. There's never any fault in working through problems again, but if you feel that you're ready to go, you have that assignment on Seesaw, okay? All right, so you are on page 487. Page 487 is a warm-up page. So we are going to go ahead and warm up on page 487. So you should be looking at this page here. And it says there were 565 rubber ducks in the rubber ducky race last year. There were 237 more rubber ducks than this year. How many rubber ducks were there in this year's race? Solve this problem any way you choose. So you are going to use your writing utensil and you are going to solve this problem as it says, any way you choose. So right now you need to start working independently on Zoom to complete this work. You'll need to take time to identify the numbers that you are using. You can use your brain to see that this says we are adding 3-digit numbers, so you already know what operation to use, but go ahead and work that out on the page any way that you choose. Any way that you choose. It's going to take 2 minutes. So right now you are solving the problem any way that you choose on page 487 of your volume textbook. Kimberly, I see your question on Clever. You're going to click on the icon that says Math Textbook. And Alicia, no problem. It says you left your book. Go ahead and get on Clever and open it up using your Math Textbook. Page 487. So go to Clever, you'll click on the link that says Math Textbook. I think I have it here, yep. So on Clever, it says right here, Math Textbook. You'll click on that and then you'll go to page 487. Let's take another 30 seconds to solve this problem any way that you choose. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this together. So we have 565 rubber ducks last year in the race. This year, there's 237 more. When we have 237 more, we know that that's adding 2. So we're going to take those two numbers, last year's race, 565, plus the 565 and 237 more from this year's race. I could solve it using the standard algorithm like this. I could also solve this by using the break apart strategy and isolating my hundreds, tens, and ones. Either way, I'm still going to get the same answer. Some of you might have created your answer using your place value blocks as well. That is also appropriate. So when I have 5 plus 7 ones, that is 12 ones. 60 plus 30 is 90. 500 plus 200 is 700. So I can see that I have 700 plus 90 plus 12. I know that 90 and 10 is 100, so this is 102 plus 700. This would give me an answer of 802. I would get the same answer if I solved this using the standard algorithm. 5 ones plus 7 ones is 12 ones, so I have to regroup my 10 into my tens place and keep my 2 in my ones place. 1 10 plus 6 tens is 7 tens, plus 3 more tens is 10 tens, which is the same as 100. So my 1 would go in the 100, and I have 0 tens. 100 plus 500 is 600, plus 2 more hundreds is 800. So either way you go, you get the answer 802. This is the correct answer. This is a word problem, so you also need to have a word in your answer. It is 802 rubber ducks. This is the time of year that I get to tell my favorite math joke that you will all roll your eyes at by the end of the year. And that is, if you don't put the word for the word problem, I am going to assume that you are talking about purple unicorns flying through space, and that would be the wrong answer. So if you don't put rubber ducks after your answer, I'm going to assume you are telling me that there are 802 purple unicorns flying through space, and I'm going to assume that you're wrong, because I like assuming things that make me happy, which is purple unicorns flying through space. The problem is with that would make your answer wrong. So you've got to make sure you put rubber ducks. Our problem is about rubber ducks. Your answer has to be about rubber ducks, because otherwise it's going to be about purple unicorns flying through space, and those make me happy, but they make you wrong. Okay? So make sure you put your word in your answer. Word problem, word in our answer. Some of you are smiling, but trust me, I will say that so many times you'll go, kind of like the reading log announcement. You'll go, purple unicorns flying through space, and then you'll get all annoyed, and it'll be great. You'll love it. But it'll also help you remember to put your word in your word problem. All right, Sophia, question.
I can't find it.
All right, if you cannot find your math textbook, guys, remember you need to log in online and switch back and forth from the Zoom icon to your online textbook icon, okay? All right, let's move on to the next page, page 488, please. That is going to be an example page, and that is where we will start our, let me save my work here. There we go. That is where we will start our video lesson with the example. Okay, I always forget how to turn my, there it is. Booyah. All right, awesome. So this is an example. It's going to be in our video, so I'm not going to read it to you because the video will explain it to you. So allow me to go to our video. Dun, dun, dun. Draft. Check, 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 check. There we go. All right, awesome. So this is an example from the text, and there's going to be a video example explaining this to you. There's no work to do on this page. There's no work to do on page 488. It's just a video example. So it's there for you to follow along. What questions are there on the vocabulary words? So that was all that was in the video. So I won't replay that because that's just a short little thing that I can tell you. The words are addition, sum, addend, whole numbers, regroup, and rename. Any questions on those vocabulary words? Excellent. All right, here we go.
Today you will be reviewing continuing to add 3-digit numbers. There's an opening problem that we'd like for you to solve using any way that you choose. Rubber ducks together to discuss the answer 237. This is the standard equation way to solve this problem. You may have chosen to stretch it out by place value using your expanded form, or by stacking, or by working through a mental math of some type. However, let's take a look at what your answer should have been.
It's not, there it is. I was going to say, it's not showing me my bar. There we go. All right, awesome.
We need to have a word in our answer. Now we will take a look at page 488 of your textbook. On this page, you will see an example that looks like this. This example is going to be worked out in the video review that we are getting ready to watch. Please ask questions if you do not understand something in the video or on the example page.
124 more passengers. How can you use addition to solve problems? Let's find out. A riverboat carried 124 more passengers on Sunday than on Saturday. How many passengers were there on Sunday? What information is shown in the bar diagram?
This is the answer you need to find. The number of Sunday passengers. This is the number of passengers there were on Saturday, 288. This is how many more passengers there were on Sunday, 124.
It shows how many more passengers there were on Sunday compared to the number of passengers there were on Saturday. How does the bar diagram help you solve the problem?
Pause the video and discuss this with your class.
Okay, so let's take a look at this bar diagram. We see that we have the number of passengers on Saturday in one section and the number of passengers on Sunday in the other question. The top bar is a question mark, but I'm noticing that it is as long as the bottom two bars put together. Why do you think that is? Why is our top bar the same size as the bottom two bars put together? What are our thoughts? The reason that our bar diagram on the top is as long as the bottom two put together is because it's showing us that these are added together to the same size. So the answer that we have on top should be the same size as 288 plus 124. That will show us the same size or the same amount of passengers.
Because the number in the top bar is missing, you know you need to add the numbers in the sections of the bar on the bottom to get the total number.
The diagram helps you see how the numbers in the problem are related to each other.
Before you find the exact answer, you can estimate by rounding each number to the nearest hundred. 300 plus 100 equals 400. Now find the exact answer. Step 1. Add the ones. 8 ones plus 4 ones equals 12 ones. Regroup. 12 ones are equal to 110, 2 ones. How do you record 110, 2 ones?
Pause to discuss this with your class.
110 and 2 ones. How would I record that when I didn't pause. When I need to regroup, how would I need to show that? And I'm going to call on anybody because everybody should know this answer. When we have 12 ones, how do we write that when we regroup? Hashtag it's right in front of your face too. Sophia, what are your thoughts, sis? What do we do with that 10? What do we do with that 10? Where does it go? When we have 12 ones, where does our 10 go?
Up here, in the top.
Yeah, in the top above the tens place. So now we're adding 3 different digits together. The regrouped 10, the first 10 on the addend, and the bottom 10 on the addend. Excellent. Thank you, Sophia.
Below the ones column and the 1 above the tens column. Step 2. Add the tens. 110 plus 8 tens plus 2 tens equals 11 tens. Regroup. 11 tens are equal to 100, 110. How do you record 100, 110?
Sophia just answered it for us for our ones and tens place. Now how do I regroup it when it is 110? Where does my 100 go? Where does my 10 go? Where do those regroup to? Chris, let's hear from you, bud. Where does my 100 go on the 110?
It goes atop the hundreds place.
Awesome job with that vocabulary. We don't just say it goes on top, because on top could be on top of any of these place values, but Chris knew it goes on top of the hundreds place. Excellent.
Pause the video to discuss this with your class.
Did that early. Here we go.
Write the 1 below the tens column and the 1 above the hundreds column. Step 3. Add the hundreds. 100 plus 200 plus 100 equals 400. There were 412 passengers on Sunday. The answer is reasonable because it is close to the estimate of 400. What is 288 plus 124 when rounded to the nearest 10? 290 plus 120 equals 410. Which estimate is easier to make? Adding the numbers when rounded to the nearest 10 or adding the numbers when rounded to the nearest 100? Adding the numbers when rounded to the nearest 100 may be easier because there is no regrouping. Now you know how to use addition to solve problems.
Look at page.
All right, so I want to talk about why they rounded, okay? The reason that we rounded when we were trying to solve our problem is because this is a very real life skill, all right? So here's a perfect example. When I'm in the grocery store and I need to buy 2 items, and one of the items costs $5.94, and the other item costs $3.48, in my head, I round. The one that costs $6.98, I round up to make that a new dollar. So I say that's going to cost about $6. The one that costs $3.48, I'm rounding that down to $3. So $6 plus $3, I need about $9. Now, it might be a few cents more than that. It might be a few cents less than that, but it gives me an estimate of about how much money I will need to have. So when we estimate, that helps us see if our answer is correct. So 412 is our real full digits number answer. That is close to 400. It's also close to 410. So that's a way to check ourselves to know, oh, yep, I probably did my math right because it's close to my estimate. Now, if I estimated that it was 400 and then I got the answer 962, well, 400 and 962 are not close to each other on a number line. So that would tell me something is wrong, and I can go back and check my work there. So we round just like we do in real life to help us see what our total should be, okay? All right.
Now you know how to use addition to solve problems.
Look at page 488 to review the example from the video. Ask questions if you do not understand.
All right, so you have page 488. This is the exact problem that was just worked out in the video. What questions can I answer about how this problem was solved? Camille.
My hand was supposed to be raised.
Okay. Aiden G.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Guys, take a minute to look at your hand, and if it's up and it's not supposed to be, turn it off. That way we can make sure we save our time for our lesson. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions about this example, which means we understand it. Okay, let's finish up the last few seconds.
Now your teacher will work through the rest of the textbook pages with you to look at some examples of how to add 3-digit numbers.
All right, so we're going to work through a few of these examples together inside of your textbook, and these examples will help you understand why it is important to round before we solve an equation in its entirety, okay? So I'd like for you please to go ahead and look at the next page. Sorry, my Zoom controls are in the way. There we go. You will not have to turn the page, but I do because I'm looking at one page at a time. This is page 489. We are going to take a look at the guided practice. Guided practice is what we are going to work on together right now. Okay, page 489, and we're looking at the guided practice. So let's look at the first one. When you add 3-digit numbers, how do you know if you need to regroup? I'm going to underline the question that it's asking me to answer. I'd like you to do the same. How do you know if you need to regroup? This is a how question, so I'm looking for a way. Well, just as we talked about with Chris and Sophia, when we have 2 digits in a single place value, we have to move one to the top of the next place value. So how do you know if you need to regroup? I know that I need to regroup when there are 2 digits in a 1 place value. So when there are, and I'm writing, so you are writing, when there are 2 digits in 1 place value. We know we need to regroup when there are 2 digits in 1 place value. Just like if we think about the drawer at a cash register, when there is a 1, we put it in the section for the $1 bills. If someone pays with a 10, we don't put it in the $1 bill section. We move that over to the $10 bill section. So when we have 2 digits, we have to move one of the digits, the larger valued digit, to the next place value, which Chris and Sophia beautifully explained as locating it on top of the higher place value. It's perfect. Questions about this, about how to know when to regroup? Looking at your work as a class, we've been getting this down pretty well, so I'm not shocked that there aren't a ton of questions, but I want to make sure that we get clarification if there's any confusion. Does everyone understand why we regroup when there are 2 digits and 1 place value? Terrence.
Never mind.
Okay. So we regroup when there are 2 digits and 1 place value. We're going to move on to question 2. To add 546 plus 327, would you need to regroup? Explain. I have to answer 2 things. It's a yes or no question, would I need to regroup, and an explaining question. So go ahead and underline the 2 things that you need to do so you remember there are 2 parts to your answer. So when I'm looking at 546 plus 327, I'm able to see in my head that I'm going to need to regroup because I have 7 ones and 6 ones. I know that that is 13 ones. I can't have 2 digits in my ones place. So I know, would you need to regroup? Yes. But I'm not done because the second part of that question said explain. So if all I do is write yes, I've only answered half of the question, which is a 50% score on that question, which is an F. So I want to make sure I answer both sections. Would you need to regroup? Yes. Explain. Because since we have such short space here, you can go ahead and write because as B/C. That's called shorthand or abbreviation for a word. So B/C is the short way to write because. So if you'd like to use B/C instead of spelling out the word because, please feel free to do that in your math work. So yes, because 13 ones is 110 plus 3 ones. So yes, I would need to regroup because I have 13 ones, which is 110 plus 3 ones. That's 2 digits in my ones place, which cannot be supported. So I would have to regroup this into 110 and 3 ones. If I have written it, you need to write it, so I'll give you some time to catch up on that. As you are catching up, I'm scrolling through to see if we have questions about how I explained regrouping in 546 plus 327. What questions can I answer about how to regroup? Okay, awesome. I'll give you another moment or two to finish that up. Go ahead and cross out number 3 and number 5. We're only going to work through 2 of these because they all ask for the same thing. So we're going to work on number 4 and 6. These all ask for the same scale, so we're just going to work through 2 of these together. I will invite you to pay extra attention to numbers 4 and 6 because this is one of the things that you're going to be asked to do on your seesaw assignment for a grade today. It's going to ask you to round first and then find each sum. So there are 2 things to do on these, which means they're worth 2 points. The first point is to estimate by rounding. The next point is to find each sum. So go ahead and underline both parts of those directions. And I'm even going to label them as 1 and 2 so that I remember there are 2 things that I need to do for number 4 and number 6. The first thing is it asks me to estimate by rounding to the nearest 10. It gave me a place value this time. So I'm going to round to the nearest 10, which means my 1 is telling my tens place what to do. This number is 163. I know that it's between 160 because I said that in the name, 163. And the next 10 would be 170. This is a 3, which is less than 5. So this would round down to 160. Now I was able to do that in my head, but if you needed to draw a rounding roller coaster or a number line or use the rounding rhyme, go for it. But I was able to do this in my head. So 163 rounds down to 160. 50 is already rounded. That's a 10 number. I say it when I count by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Boom, done. So 160 plus 50. Those are our rounded digits. And again, we round before we solve a problem because that's a real life skill. When you're in the store purchasing items or when you're hosting a party and you need to buy a certain number of plates, you're going to round. You're going to estimate how many you will need to see if it's close to the real answer. I know that 0 ones plus 0 ones is 0 ones. 6 tens plus 5 tens is 11 tens, which is regrouped as 100, 110. 100 plus 100 is 200. So when I solve my sum, 210 should be close to the real answer. So if I get a number that's way bigger or way smaller, I've done something wrong, okay? So we've estimated by rounding. Now we're going to go ahead and find each sum. So that's our second part. So now we're going to find each sum. So I have 3 ones plus 0 ones. That's 3 ones. 6 tens plus 5 tens is 11 tens, which is the same as 100, 110. 100 plus 100 is 200. So my sum is 213. My rounded answer was 210. Those are close to each other, so I most likely did my math correctly. When my estimate is close to my sum, I know that they are a correct answer. What questions can I answer on rounding to solve addition? Rounding to solve addition. Levin.
Why was doing independent practice?
Right now you're doing this with me.
Alright.
Okay. Okay. Let's look at one more rounding. And because I don't really have a lot of room, I'm actually going to do my rounding this time on this side. So I'm rounding 303 plus 597 to the nearest 10. I know that 303 is between 300 and 310. Again, this is a 3, which is on the smaller side of my rounding, so I will round down to 300. Yes, this is a 100 number. However, I can say hundreds when I count by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. I was counting by tens and I still said a 100 number. The same can be said of 300. Now I have 597. That's between 590 plus 10 is 600. This is a 7. The 7 is on the larger side of the rounding roller coaster, so I will round forward or up. So that is going to move up to 600. Again, this is a hundreds number, but I can still say a hundreds number when I round up. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 tens plus 0 tens is 0 tens. 300s plus 600s is 900s. So I've done part 1. My directions tell me to round to the nearest 10 and to find the sum. So now I need to add the real digits here, the full digits, to find the answer. 3 ones plus 7 ones is 10. So I need to regroup as 1 10 and 0 ones. 1 10 plus 0 tens is 1 10. Plus 9 tens is 10 tens. When I have 10 tens, I have 100 and 0 tens. So I regroup that 1 above my hundreds place. 100 plus 300 is 400, plus 5 more hundreds is 900. Look at that. My rounded answer was exactly the same as my sum. So that tells me I am most likely exactly correct. Again, what questions can I answer about using rounding or estimating to find your sum? Okay. You are getting ready to be released to work on your independent practice. This is going to be for a grade today. I'm going to be looking for 2 points on each problem, your rounding and your sum. The assignment gives you the choice of rounding to the nearest 10 or 100. So whichever you find easier is what you can do. You have the choice of rounding to the nearest 100 or the nearest 10, okay? So when you get confused or when you think, I don't remember, you have several places you can look. You can look in your textbook at the examples that we completed together. You can look back at the video lesson inside of Seesaw. And you can look at your notebook and your rounding notes and your addition notes. So there are 3 places to help you solve these problems correctly, okay? I'm going to switch over to Seesaw to show you where your work is. So inside of Seesaw, an assignment has been released to you called Adding Fluently, Day 3, Textbook Lesson 9-3. The first part of the directions are about the lesson. Open your textbook, we've done that. Watch the video, we've done that. Listen to your live teacher or your Zoom if you're doing asynchronous and fill in your textbook. We've done that. Number 4, complete the problems by rounding first, then by solving. So inside of your work, I've already started my draft here to show you. You have the example page and it says read the example. Then you have your work pages. I've worked the first one for you with some reminders of how to do this. I've labeled the places where you are to estimate and solve next to your work on 2, 3, and 4. The directions tell you, as I shared, round to the nearest 10 or nearest 100. So whichever is easier for you is what you will complete. On page 3, you are doing the same. I've given you grid lines because these equations are not stacked on top of each other. So I've given you grid lines to help you make sure you line up your place values correctly. Again, you are estimating to the nearest 10 or 100 and finding each sum. The last page is a word problem. I'd like for you to attempt this word problem about these award-winning pumpkins. Again, using addition as our focus has been the entire lesson. This is your seesaw assignment, and I will be inserting this into your grade book. So you have 2 points for each of the equations on 1 through 8, and you have 2 points for number 13 and 14. What questions can I answer about your assignment? 11.
Do we have to do the rounding?
Yes, you do. So we're using that real life skill of rounding, but you get to choose to the 10s or the 100s. And that's going to help you see if your answer is close to each other. Because if your rounded answer is like 300 and your sum is like 700, you know something's wrong. Those are way too far apart. So that would tell you you need to check your work somewhere. Okay, so it's a way to check yourself. Leah.
Do we do the assignment on Zoom?
No, it is lunchtime in 2 minutes, so this will be completed in your work time this afternoon.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Any other questions about the assignment? Okay, so let's review our schedule. As I just shared with Leah, you are getting ready to go to lunch and recess in 2 minutes. At 12 o'clock, I will be logged in for office hours to help you with any assignment that you have ever been given ever. So if you have any questions about any assignment, log in. During office hours, if you do not have questions, you are supposed to be working on math assignments. So your seesaw assignment, or your prodigy, or your Zern. Okay, this is not free time, this is still math class. So during office hours, you're finishing seesaw, you're working on prodigy, you're working on Zern. At 1:35, you have your last day of music. Last day of music. Miss Gray told me that only one student from our classroom completed their quiz on the Beethoven movie from yesterday. That is not good. So you have a lot of work to make up in music because only one student completed that, okay? You need to get your work done. Music is a graded course, okay? So you have related arts work at 1:35 with music. At 2:20, you will log back in with me for dismissal announcements, okay?